Hi, and thanks for joining us. You're watching Real Estate with Rusty. And as always, we'd like to start today off with a quick market update to talk about what's going on in the Bay Area real estate market. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce our guest today. This is Joe Brown, and Joe Brown is the current COO of Intero Real Estate Services, as well as the managing officer of our Intero Willow Glen branch. Joe, want to tell them a little bit about yourself and how you got in the business?
Well, if I tell them all the good things, then I got to tell them all the bad things?
That's kind of how it works.
Okay, so in 1980, I got my real estate license. Interest rates were 16% at that particular time. I had been selling concrete, and I asked my wife whether I could go get my real estate license, and she said, sure, but you make $49,000 a year, so we need $49,000 a year. I got lucky and did 19 transactions my first year and made $50,000. Even with those interest rates. And here we are in 2018, and I'm still making $50,000 a year. Not much progress, but we're doing fine.
Good little synopsis, Joe.
How's that, buddy?
That works. All right, well, thank you for that, Joe. Let's get right into the real estate market here. We're just going to do a really quick update on what's been going on in real estate here in the Bay Area and Santa Clara County. As I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, we've seen the summertime inventory increase. That is, again, very normal. What it's caused is a normalization of our real estate market where things are not selling as quickly as they were, and not necessarily for the same high prices that they were selling for in April and May. However, it's still definitely very much a seller's market, and what that means is that there's still not enough homes for sale for all the buyers that are looking. As of today, there's about 1,701 units on the market in Santa Clara County, which again, that is a little bit on the high side, but considering what this market has done here since the last recession, since we started improving in 2012, every summer with the exception of 2017, we've seen levels of inventory just about like this at this time. So not anything earth-shattering, definitely still seeing homes sell relatively quickly, and the Silicon Valley, obviously, we get a little bit spoiled with 6, 7, 8 days on the market. If we're selling homes in 14 to 21 days, we're actually doing pretty good, right?
That's correct. There were days that we'd be on the market for 6 months to a year.
Yeah, and so since we're really not at those levels at all, I don't think there's any reason for major panic or concern. Things are definitely selling very quickly and still for unbelievable prices, even where there's been a little bit of a haircut in terms of what they're selling for compared to mid-spring. We're still seeing homes selling 20% higher than they were last year.
Correct.
So definitely a good time to sell your house, but also a great opportunity for buyers. As I said, there's more inventory now than there was in spring, and as a result, that definitely leaves more options on the table for a buyer where they can be a little bit more choosy and not necessarily have to accept every single condition that the seller would like to see in a contract and also in the process in terms of repairs. So, really good time to be a seller or a buyer right now.
Yes. One thing you should talk about is last summer we didn't really have a slowdown in the numbers of transactions that we had. We did have an increase in inventory, but we didn't have a slowdown in the transactions that were what we might call pending and or closed. And this year we are seeing a slight drop in what's going pending during this summer. So when Rusty says it's more of a normalized market, the public thinks that the summer is the best time from June on, and in reality, back to the days when we could predict what was going to happen, the summertime usually slowed down, and I think that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Nothing drastic, should be coming right back right after Labor Day weekend, coming on strong through the holidays.
Absolutely. So Joe, what we'd like to talk about today being that, as I said when I introduced you, COO of the company here and managing officer of this office here in Willow Glen, what we'd like to talk about is one of the things that you're really good at, which is helping a brand new realtor get their business started and kind of get the ball rolling in terms of building a business, not just starting a business, but also building a business, learning what it takes to be successful in this particular real estate market, which is unique, obviously. Maybe talk about some of the pros and cons of the lifestyle of a realtor, what it really takes to be successful, and then maybe even some of the costs associated with running your own business. So does that sound like a fair topic for you to talk about?
Well, I think, I spend a lot of my time talking to people about that. We do hire a lot of new people here at Intero. We have a fantastic training program. From a corporate level, we have a great training program. It repeats itself every 3 weeks, and it repeats itself every month, and it's 3 weeks at a time. So if you happen to miss a class, you can pick it up next next month. In addition to that, most of the offices are holding trainings inside of their own office
Absolutely.
to help. There's a lot of collaboration that goes on at Intero, and most of the agents are very excited to help new agents become successful. That being said, this is a very, very, very tough business to break into. A lot of people think it's a very easy business. They think that they go out and they go to Eli Thomas and buy a suit, buy a used Mercedes, and they're going to sell real estate. It's not quite that simple. For every 10 people who pass their exam on the date that someone passes their exam, in 3 years, only 2 of them will be making a living selling real estate. And Rusty, before the show started, asked me, what do you think is making a living? And you know, not that I have studied this, but I've been around for a long time. We think that out of those 2 that are making it, they'll be making in excess of $80,000 a year. And really, that's not in Silicon Valley. That's not much of a living. Some of those agents will be making much more and doing extremely well, but they have to work on it. One of the things that I always, when I interview agents, I ask them how much money they want to make, and they come out with figures like, oh, I want to make $200,000, and $200,000 is a fair figure for most of my agents here, and I have 127 in the building. But then I asked them the question, if you were going to work at Apple or you were going to work at Google and they were going to pay you $200,000 a year, what would the expectations of your boss on you be for commitment to earning that $200,000? And they come out with figures like, you know, someone who might have been in the tech company, or someone come. I have a lot of people that are moving from finance into real estate. They have realistic figures on time commitment that the Google or Apple would be expecting 60 to 70 hours a week for someone who's going to make $200,000. So then I turned the question around. I said, now you're the boss, and you're the boss of you. What are your expectations of you that you're going to make $200,000 a year? And the answers to that are always very interesting. So that's one of the things a new person really has to consider, is what really is going to be your commitment to this business. And to be successful in this business, it's not just having a business card, looking good, and maybe going to the golf course and hoping that you're going to meet people that are going to ask you to play golf, but to sell real estate. We have a term here that's called prospecting. And prospecting means you have to go out and you have to find the clients who have really already made the decision to buy or sell. And a new agent, because they don't have the product knowledge or the years of experience and the confidence level, they have to see way more people than maybe somebody like Rusty, who is very polished and has years of experience and all kinds of knowledge about this business. A brand new person doesn't possess that. So they have to find more people that want them to help them buy or sell. So all of that together is one of the things that holds people back from being successful in this business, because there are several different ways to prospect. You can prospect, most everybody thinks, well, I like houses, so I'm going to do an open house. Well, that's just one form of prospecting. There's door knocking, there's cold calling, there's writing handwritten letters, there's going after expireds, there's going after for sale by owner, there is social media. And social media is not just what I like to do, which is post pictures of my grandkids, because I get 300 likes when I do that. I post something about real estate and I get 12 likes, and I have 3,000 friends on Facebook. So it's not just as easy as posting pictures as your family. You have to have a system. You have to plan what you're going to put up. You have to plan who are going to be your friends on LinkedIn, especially on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, you go in and you. Well, I should talk about Jordan a little bit, because he does a class on LinkedIn. It takes a lot of work. If you're going to work social media, you're probably putting in 2 to 3 hours every day into that vehicle to get clients. I could go through the whole class, but
well, what you
I'm
said,
going to need a glass of water here, because my mouth's getting dry, buddy.
Okay. Well, you said a lot. I think that the culmination of what you said, though, is it sounds like a lot of work. And I think that perhaps maybe the initial connotation of the consumer and the public out there is that real estate agents don't necessarily have to work that hard in order to make a living. And I think that it's definitely a mischaracterization of what it really takes. I think that there's plenty of people that, I guess, to kind of back it up, I mean, I think that in real estate, you can design your life, right? You can design your life in that you can work 35 hours a week or 25 hours a week, and you can do a sale, 2 or 3 sales a year, and maybe you're not, making that benchmark of making a living, whatever that might be, but you're certainly earning an income, and it can, in that case, it can be better than a normal part-time job. However,
And supplement the family.
And supplement the family. For example, if you're a part-time real estate agent and a stay-at-home parent, I said, you can definitely make that work. And if you wanted to take it to the next level and have it be like, comparable to a job at Apple or a job at NVIDIA or something of that nature, you can do that as well. And then if you really want to actually earn more than a doctor or a lawyer, that's possible too. It really all depends on how much you want to put into it.
Correct.
So, all that being said, do you think that...
Hold on right there. I have another thought. When I talk about prospecting, that is only one facet of this business.
Certainly.
I did mention product knowledge, and how do you get product knowledge? We can't give an agent 3 years of experience in 3 weeks of a class. So therefore, they're going to have to do some extra work on the product knowledge. They're going to have to write contracts. They're going to have to read contracts. They're going to have to go to seminars on contracts so that they know exactly what it is that they're asking their client to sign or fill out. In addition to that, they're going to have to study statistics. If you talk to me, I can go all the way back to 1980 when interest rates were 16%. And I've got a pretty good working knowledge of all of that, so I can impress somebody on what the market is doing. If you talk to somebody who's been in the business for 6 months, they don't have that product knowledge, but that product knowledge is accessible to them if they study it and let it sink in, so that when they are talking to a client, there's some confidence in how they're speaking to them and credibility when the client is, so it isn't just a matter of getting a client writing a contract. How do you do all of that stuff? Because our clients are pretty sophisticated.
That's true.
They know about the contract, they know about values, they know about neighborhoods, they know about schools. So we just can't, we have to be prepared to give them the best service we can. And I don't just mean being on time. The best service is we have to do the best job that we possibly can to protect this asset that they're purchasing.
Yeah, and I think that what you're talking about is perspective, right? If somebody's been in the business a short time, how do they get that perspective in order to be able to do business right away? And
hard work.
Hard work is definitely the biggest thing, and I think putting in the time to study, like you said, there's multiple facets. There's knowing the actual real estate market, knowing a little bit about economics to kind of have more of a global perspective of the whole entire situation, how to write a contract, et cetera. There's a couple of things that they can do. Number one is obviously practice and study, right? And then number two is partnering with an agent that is more experienced than them, that can help them through that process, so that they do have that larger perspective. Like you said, you've got perspective going all the way back to 1980, right? And actually things that happened in 1988 are valuable to know today, right? And if somebody has only been in the business for 3 weeks, they're not going to know all that.
Correct.
But if you partner with the right manager, you partner with the right people in your office, and that's one of the things about Intero that's great. You mentioned that there's a lot of collaboration, and that's where that comes in, is that agents are willing to help each other out and show the new people the things that they know so that they can implement them in their business as well.
Correct. Yep.
So as we're moving forward with this conversation, I'd like to switch gears just a little bit. As we said, you can make as much money as you want in this business, but it's going to take a lot of hard work. But starting from the very beginning, why don't you give us a quick breakdown of what it takes to actually become a licensed agent?
Well, I do not know what the fees are with the state of California when you do get your license, because it's not something I pay attention to. I really don't enter into the conversation until someone has got their license. So there are schools out there that you can get online, and you have to take 12 college units of classes. That I think it's 3 or 4 different classes that are required before you can sit for your exam. So you're either going to pay for that in a junior college, or you're going to pay for that in an online school. online school, all of that can be accomplished probably in about 4 months. I think is probably the quickest you can do that.
Sounds about right.
And then you have to do a prep class to get yourself ready for the exam, and I think that thing runs about $125 just for that prep class. So once you get your license, if you join a large real estate firm, which I really, really recommend, because you're going to
Absolutely.
get the right training and you're going to get the right collaboration. In a large office, there are many agents that will be around that will be able to help you. In a small office, there won't be as many, and typically what we have seen is they kind of flounder and kind of drop off. And in a large office, experienced agents kind of pull more inexperienced agents along until they build their own confidence. So in a large office, you are going to be required to join the Board of Realtors and the MLS. I believe that those fees are about $1,800 a year. I think they're prorated when you come in June and July, and I think that you can pay quarterly. That again is something that I don't pay a whole lot of attention to. I just have the $1,800 number memorized. You are going to need business cards, and you're going to need open house signs. And I highly recommend you get your own open house signs. So this is an investment that could be $600-700 just for the open house signs, but it's an investment that's money well spent, because when that sign goes out in a corner, although most people think that there's just got an arrow on it, in addition to the arrow pointing to the open house, you are marketing yourself. And if you're already known in the neighborhood, then your name is out there for however many hours that sign is out there for the open house. And of course, you're going to need business cards. And if you're in a large office, they're going to help you make flyers. They're going to, and your name's going to be on it for the open houses. And the other benefit about going to a large office, for instance, Antero has 20% of the market share here. We have the top market share in Santa Clara County. That means we have 1 in 5 listings, and therefore there's availability for newer agents to do open houses. If you're in a smaller office, they won't have the listings for you to do open houses. So that's another benefit of joining a large company, so that you can, last and make it until you really make it. Other than that, I think your card needs to be clean. You need to dress professionally, but that's the extent of your initial investment. As you get more experience and you're beginning to make more money, you can spend more money on marketing, so that you don't have to go knock doors yourself, or you don't have to do some of the things that we need to do. But that takes money, but that is not a prerequisite to being successful in this business.
Yeah, so it sounds like, basically that the barrier to entry really is a few $1,000s.
Low.
It's not very high. It's about a few $1,000s. It's going to take some time, to invest in the classes, which you can do online through many schools that they have online. First Tuesday, Chamberlain. There's a number of them that you can find by just Googling real estate, California real estate schools, and then you take a little bit of time, a little bit of money, and you are officially a realtor, and you're really not in the business until you're actually selling homes, though, right? And so that's the thing to keep in mind. Your initial investment might be a little bit on the small side, but as you go forward in the business, if you make a little bit of money, it's always good to reinvest that money into your business so that you can continue to grow, and have a lot of patience, because it doesn't happen overnight.
How do you advertise your business? Are you relying on signs and flyers, or using an online campaign? Did you know that TV ads and commercials are the most proven method of promoting or attracting new customers to your business? Whether it's a sole proprietorship, a family business, or a corporation, marketing your business with A&B is the best return on your advertising dollar. So the question really isn't whether you should advertise your business with A&B. Rather, it's why you wouldn't. Contact us to find out the various commercial packages we have to offer.
All right, Joe, so we talked about how much work it is to be in this business and how tough it can be for not really to enter, but to actually be successful. wanted to balance that out a little bit and maybe talk a little bit about some people that you've seen, being that you've been in the business a long time, you've seen some people start to success. And so why don't you tell us a couple stories about some agents that you can think of from your history that have really knocked it out of the park pretty early in their career?
Well, I'll get to that, but I'd like
Sure.
to talk about a gentleman who passed away maybe 2 years ago. His name is R.C. Cost. His son John still sells a little bit of real estate in Whittle Glen. He kind of changed the makeup on. Actually, I would give him credit for entire Santa Clara County, and agents are still copying him today. He started when he had a listing. His farm. He built a farm of 1,100 homes, and they were hand-picked homes in Whittle Glen, only good-looking homes. And he started working them and sending them flyers and knocking on the doors. And then when he would get a listing, he bought 30 open house signs with his name on it. And then he bought 30 open house signs that said "Home for Sale." So he would have on a weekend 60, 70, 80 open house signs out on the streets
That's
in
incredible.
Whittle Glen. And some of them would just be going to the listing that he had, but he didn't have, because he was by himself, he didn't have people to do the open house. So he made sure that there were flyers in there, but he had 25 signs going around, all the way from Whittle Glen, from Willow and Lincoln, all the way over to St. Christopher's on Kirtner. You couldn't drive without seeing 30 or 40 open house signs, and he was marketing his name. And it just exploded on how much business he got from using the open house sign as a marketing tool. And I coach agents, and most agents don't listen to me because back in the day, we didn't have cell phones, so we just used our own name on the open house signs, and our own name was bigger. And it was being branded. That's what that sign was out there, was branding R.C. Cost. Okay? Now people want to put their cell phone number there, their email address there, making the name much smaller and therefore not branding their name
Sure.
as much as possible. I have never, and I've been in the business since 1980, seen someone stop at the corner of Walk and Don't Walk, and I'm being facetious here, and go, "Oh, hold on, let me write down that cell phone number." They don't do that. It's not that important to have it. And I have agents say, "Well, what if you lose it? At least your cell phone's number's on it." Well, write your cell phone number down on the back, but use that open house sign as a branding tool. Now, that took place. RC first came to work for me in 1985, 86. He was getting a divorce from his wife, Helen. And so that's how far back that goes. The next person I seen, and then his son came into the business, and they worked for me at Contempo, they worked for me at Coldwell Banker, they worked for me at Prudential. The next person I saw come into the business who utilized that was a guy by the name of Michael Ortegon. And Michael Ortegon, RC was working in the office with me at that particular time, and RC took Michael Ortegon under his wing, and Michael Ortegon didn't have any money. He had been an appraiser, and he started knocking doors and started handing out signs. And what Michael really became known for was the chip clip. Nowadays you can go into Costco or someplace like that and buy a whole thing of a dozen chip clips, so you can have your potato chip bag clipped shut, right? But he had his name on that, which was, I had never seen it before. And now he's known as the chip clip guy, but he's retired because he made so much money in real estate branding his name with the sign, open house sign, because he bought a lot of open house signs. And then there was Patrick and Monica, RC had a VW bus pickup truck that he used that he painted, so everybody knew that it was RC putting the signs out. Then Patrick and Monica were pulling a trailer with a Mercedes to put out their open house signs. So it's just kind of a little story to let you know that how people are even doing open houses is a marketing ploy. In San Jose, we abuse the sign ordinances, and people put their open house signs out, at 7 o'clock in the morning and they take them down at 5 or 6 o'clock at night. Actually, your open house sign is supposed to go up like a half hour before the event and come down a half hour after. But in the city of San Jose, in Los Gatos and Saratoga, Los Gatos at least, you can't even have signs with your name on it. It's just an arrow. But that's just one more way of marketing yourself and standing out and doing more business. And it entails, back to the word hard work, it entails hard work. You have to have money to buy those signs. You have to get up early on a Saturday, early on a Sunday to put those signs up. Then you've got to take them down. So it isn't just walking into an open house and looking pretty and think you're going to get a client. There's a whole system to make that open house be more beneficial. So that talks a little bit about Michael Ortegon being a great agent when he came in, who came to work for me. And I'd like to take credit for everybody who started for me and became really, really good. But then if I did that, then I'd have to take credit for all the people who came to work for me and they didn't make it in the business. The people I'm going to talk about or have talked about have a tremendous work ethic. And these people are driven they're either driven from recognition, they're driven by how much money they're going to make, all kinds of different things. We have a guy in the company, Mark Tatar. You would think he's driven because he wants to win all the awards, but how many kids does he have?
When I thought I was joking when I said 13, but it turns out it's actually 13 kids.
He's got 13 kids. Can you imagine having 13 children? You have to be a superstar in real estate just to raise those kids. And I think all of them are going to private schools.
You would be correct.
So there's all kinds of different motivators for people to be successful. But back to the new agent and the new agent who has become successful that has worked with me over the years, their success is far more theirs than mine. The only thing that I think that I did good for them is I'm kind of like a coach. I coached girls softball for 15 years, and I figured out either you're going to push somebody through a knot-hole fence or you're going to pull them through. So just right here in this office, our top producer, I'm not going to tell you how much money she makes, but I will tell you the story. In 1996, I was running an office for Contempo. I was recruiting her, and she finally got a real estate license, and she came in and she sat down in front of me and she said, "Joe, I got my license and I want to go to work for you, but I don't want to make a whole bunch of money. I only want to make $40,000 a year because I don't want my husband David telling me what to do with my money." This is 1996. All right, we're in 2018. She's going to make over $3 million this year. Okay, so just what's the motivation? It's just something inside of that lady. I get texts from her at 6:30 in the morning with questions. Even today, she's been in the business since 1996. She still reaches out for somebody to help her with the questions that she has. And that's a very, very good high-producing agent who started with me in 96. Then there's another kid in here. He's 25 years old now. He started with me, I think he was 22 years old at that time. And email and social media is a great way to reach out and touch your clients, what I would call as a soft touch. And so I'm telling him that we need to get all your email addresses together because I want you to send an email to them once a month for a soft touch to let them know that you're in the business. And I asked him, how many email addresses do you have? And I think he mumbled something, something like blah, 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 blah. In reality, the story goes is that he didn't have any email addresses, but in his mind, he was saying, this is a pretty good idea. I can use Facebook to be the soft touch. Mm-hmm. And I can use LinkedIn to be and he didn't tell me that while he was sitting there, but he went out and he developed the system to make him successful. And today he is sought out to teach classes not only to this office, to this company, but to Santa Clara County Association of Realtors, to the Silicon Valley Association of Realtors, and I think even in San Francisco he's been up there. I don't know whether Inman has reached out to him or not, but he is well known on his ability to prospect using Facebook and LinkedIn. And that wasn't developed because I was his coach. It was developed, and this guy works his tail off. He just thought of it and he stayed with it and he was consistent and he put hard work into it. and he never quit. A lot of things that we talk about for prospecting, they're very difficult to do. And you get a lot of no's before you finally get someone who says, yes, I'd like to talk to you. And the majority of the people, when I talk about 8 not making it in the business, I'm not saying that they don't try to prospect, but what happens is they get discouraged and they don't keep pushing themselves through it. And they really give up before the miracle, if we want to talk it like it's a miracle, because I really think that the people who are successful in this business have been given a gift. We're just able to connect with people, and the no's or the rejections that we receive are not, they affect us, but they don't affect us enough to make us leave the business. And some people, it affects them enough for them to leave the business.
Those are some great stories, Joe, and I think that what it comes down to obviously is hard work, as you just said, and also there's an aspect of there's a gift that some of us have been given in order to connect with people, and all of those things are developed through practice, practice and patience. Like you said, you gotta. I think that all of us are affected by rejection, and you have to get through a lot of rejection in order to actually get to the miracle, as you put it. And whether or not you give up before the miracle is kind of up to you. So one of the things that I think is the most important, takeaway from this whole talk is that this business is one in which you can design your own life. You can have as much success or as little success as you want to, and really, it's up to you. It's really up to you.
And one more thing, we get to really help people,
which is the most important.
Which
thing.
is the most I think that helps. It helps me deal with the rejection. When I see an agent become successful in this, I mean, it's like Lauren today, connecting. For 2 hours he was on the phone, but he connected, and he's close to getting an appointment, and I just want to give him 15 high fives.
Yep, absolutely.
And then when that whole thing's done, when you hand somebody the keys to their new home that they didn't think that they could get, it is just, it's mind-boggling the joy we get from doing that. And I think I at least lost sight of that during this whole interview today. But typically the people who are successful in this business are successful because of their work ethic, and they enjoy helping people.
Yeah, and I think helping people, just to kind of wrap it up, is that that's actually what gets you out of bed when it's hard. It's actually what gets you to keep going when it's hard, because you know that at the end of the day, you're not just feeding your family, you're not just putting money in your pocket, but you're also making a difference in someone else's life, and that's very empowering for me.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. That's about as much time as we have. I want to thank you for being here. And,
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This was Real Estate with Rusty, and we'll see you next week.